and let us all do we can to build a better future. And this one's going to upset a lot of people. Well, that's to deal with our good friend, Joe Rogan.
Joseph Rogan.
And this is an article from RT America, so shh, everyone, don't tell Rachel Maddow. She might go crazy. She might crap her pants. So there we go. So article is titled, I'm not an anti-vax person. Joe Rogan clarifies young and healthy don't need a jab, claims after uproar reaches White House and Dr. Fauci. Okay, it's the same Dr. Fauci who went back and forth on the mask, okay? Dr. Fauci has a lot to answer for himself. And the Biden administration, look, they're the last ones to pretend to be saints. I mean, come on, just knock it off. So podcaster Joe Rogan has elaborated on his remarks about the coronavirus vaccines after triggering a major backlash, including from the White House, saying that he's not anti-vax, but merely questions whether the young and healthy need the jab. Spotify's #1 podcaster took to his show on Thursday to clarify comments made on a previous episode where he suggested vaccination may not be necessary for groups less vulnerable to the virus, such as a healthy 21-year-olds or younger teenagers and children. This is a quote. The thing about people being upset at me, I'm not an anti-vax person. In fact, I said I believe they're safe and I encourage many people to take them. My parents were vaccinated. And he also goes on to say, and again, we can't play the video because it'll be copyright.
There's 2 videos technically.
Yeah, I just said I don't think that if you're a young, healthy person that you need it. Though he largely stuck to that stance, the 53-year-old fight commentator said critics had pointed out the risk that even the young and healthy could spread the virus to other more vulnerable people. That makes more sense, but that's a different argument. That's a different conversation, Rogan went on. His original hot button statement came on April 23rd, an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, where he spoke at length about COVID-19 inoculation and vaccine passports with comedian and libertarian commentator Dave Smith. It didn't take long before the show prompted scorn from detractors. Surprise, surprise, because there's a lot of people.
I don't like it. It must not exist. I believe in freedom.
With even the White House coronavirus advisor, Anthony Fauci, weighing in. You're talking about yourself in a vacuum, Fauci said of Rogan. Again, Fauci, knock it off, buddy. You're worried about yourself getting infected and the likelihood that you're not going to get any symptoms, but you can get infected and will get infected if you put yourself at risk. President Joe Biden's communications director, Kate Bedingfield, was even more snarky in her response, asking, did Joe Rogan become a medical doctor while we weren't looking? Oh, yeah, smart, whatever.
You got him covered. He's always said he is. Oh wait, no, he's never said that.
Okay, and here's what I think of that Biden spokesperson. Hey, your administration doesn't support Medicare for all at the height of the pandemic, while the rest of the international community has single-payer health care for our citizens. And in fact, here in the United States, we have a thing called medical bankruptcy. But I doubt the Biden administration is ever going to talk about that because, oh no, we got to get angry at a non-politician, Joe Rogan, a host of one of the biggest shows.
You know that super intellectual who knows everything about medicine, Joe Rogan, who we always follow for his medical advice? That guy? Oh, wait.
Yeah. Okay, so Rogan apparently agrees with that statement, acknowledging Thursday, I'm not a doctor, I'm a effing moron, and that he should not be considered a respected source of information. Nonetheless, he said, at least I try to be honest what I'm saying, something that the Biden administration, Democratic and Republican lawmakers can learn from. But sadly, again, there's this weird thing here in the United States where somehow we have this reverence for our politicians, and then we go after somebody that chooses to maybe go outside that narrative. The reason why Joe Rogan's getting all this weird kind of pushback, again, it's because, sadly, there's a lot of triggered people, a lot of upset people in the world. And look, I know everyone has different opinions about the vaccination, but at the end of the day, all these people that are triggered at Joe Rogan, if you don't like him, don't listen to him. And then at the same time, too, don't get on a pedestal and say, well, we got to protect people from listening from Joe Rogan. That's censorship. That's exactly what the FCC did to radio. And that's what we're seeing corporate media and the political establishment do to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, trying to censor people because they feel that they know better than you and they should silence you. In 2018, when AJ was taken off of Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, we said that they're going to come after progressives, independents, and libertarians. And now they're going after Joe Rogan now. Again. And again and again and again and again and again. And see, these kind of, these social justice triggered individuals. Here's what you need to realize. Some of y'all ain't that creative. And I bet if you could trade your life to be in Joe Rogan's show, to have that kind of a platform, to have that kind of a show, you would do it in a heartbeat. And again, we're seeing the same kind of BS. Again, people writing to Spotify saying, oh no, cancel Joe Rogan, get rid of his shows, get rid of this. That's not going to change anything. You think, oh no, you took him off Spotify, that's going to change anything? He's still going to be around, and he has had an outstanding series of shows. And the sad fact is, in life, you're going to run into people that's going to disagree with you. It's been going on long before you were born. It's going to continue on long after we are all dead. We know there's people who don't like us, and we've had people tell us, oh, you shouldn't interview libertarians. Oh, you shouldn't interview Greens. You shouldn't interview that activist. You shouldn't interview this. And the thing is, how dare you tell me what I can and cannot do on my show? And at the same time, too, all right, Joe Rogan has his opinion. Doesn't mean you got to put him on the chopping block, because let's face it, some of these politicians who've been in politics for 30, 40 plus years have a lot more to answer to than somebody who has a podcast on Spotify.
So, yeah, there's a lot of things that we can touch on this. First, I mean, to Kit's last point, I think that's really fantastic. Republicans have more direct opposition to this and don't get hit anywhere near as much, Republicans in office, I should say, on the vaccine. So it's like, why are we picking Joe Rogan? Why specifically is Joe Rogan the guy? Oh, the reason that you're picking out Joe Rogan is more people know him. And if you talk about him, more people will cover you. This is the clicks story. This is why, and also because many of the journalists out there and such, well, if you're already a Democrat, you're already at war with the Republicans in terms of officials, so that's already a fight that's gone on. You can't really call each other out because that's been spun out. This is just moving the conversation somewhere else. And again, the main thing with Rogan is he's a professional interviewer and MMA fighter. He doesn't know what he's talking about a lot of the time, most of his entire role. And if you watch Joe Rogan, like, I don't watch him since he went on Spotify. I think a lot of people are on there. So ironically, going to the other point, everyone who's telling Spotify to cancel Joe Rogan, well, he's going to go on back to YouTube and have like 10 times as many people watching. So I'm not sure what you're really asking for, except a knee-jerk reaction to, I don't like this thing, it must die, which is a really childish, puritanical way to deal with things, which I just have no respect for myself.
Yeah.
But this is a comedian who does interviews with people. I think the only thing that I would, if I was to give critique to Joe Rogan and choices he's made, my critique would be, dude, you have way worse on average interviews now that you're living in Texas because you're not in a major hub anymore, and you have a lot more people that are a bit one-sided. I'd like a little more balance in your content. But that's an opinion I have on a topic. I have evidence that, as I just led, why that's happening. But I don't want to shut Joe Rogan down because that's an absurd reaction. And everyone who's saying, shut down, cancel Joe Rogan, that's an absurd reaction. And it's going to backfire. We've already covered this so many times in just the last 365 days of different times where we've said, don't do it. And then it just spreads like cancer to other people. So stop being silly. The proper way to deal with this is to just called out Rogan directly on what he said and said, hey, that's not true. Say something about it. Do something about it, because he did correct and clarify what he was saying anyway. You don't need to cancel him. It's pointless. It's not the way you deal with things as an adult. You just, and other way, if you really feel that heavily about it, why don't you become a doctor and make your own show on YouTube to counter what he's saying? Literally what we did. We didn't want to yell at from our our home couches at politics, so we tried to do something about it. Yelling at things doesn't change anything. Doing things changes stuff.
You know, and also another thing too, there have been commentators on corporate media that have said far, far worse than what Joe Rogan has said. And remember, there are also individuals like, I don't know, Joe Scarborough, Rahm Emanuel, Chris Christie, who are still on corporate media, and they have done far worse things as well, not only to their constituents, but also help contribute to the neoliberal media machine that we're seeing firsthand. Joe Rogan's a comedian, he's an MMA commentator, and he has one hell of an outstanding show. And what we're seeing here, this kind of witch hunt is very similar to what they did to PewDiePie. And again, all these media outlets want to have a boogeyman now that the orange man is gone, because let's face it, a lot of those writers, well, what else can they write about? So they're going to go after somebody that's probably more creative than them, more talented than them, and have a much more larger social media following than them. What this is just a whole bunch of envy. And again, the White House has a lot of audacity because, again, this is the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration that's against Medicare for all. See, now Canada, Germany, and all these other countries, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, again, I could keep on going on and on and on, have Medicare for all or some form of single-payer health care, but we don't. And notice, very, very, very monotone tone about dealing with Biden and his policy towards Medicare for all. The vote blue no matter who crowd isn't out there. They're not speaking out from the rooftop. But, oh, Joe Rogan makes a statement and then, oh, we got to cancel him. We got to cancel him. Guess what happens? Let's say you are successful. That means somebody you like to watch on YouTube or Spotify gets canceled too. It's the same thing that happens time and time again. There are far more worse people than Joe Rogan out there, and what this is just people that are outraged and easily triggered. You're going to run into people that are going to trigger you. Either you get thick skin, you get more knowledgeable than that person that triggered you, or you just shut up and go on with your day. Daniel.
So I was just watching Cal Kalinske did a video I think yesterday that I thought was interesting where he's talking about how that what happened to YouTube, what happened to us and everything with news and politics is now starting to happen to Twitch. So we'll see if that survives and all the people that have made a very large platform on there doing news and commentary, we'll see what happens with them. Whenever you allow cancel culture or whatever we want to call it to keep parading itself, I'm going to make just a final overview of what you're doing. You're taking power from people to say things that you don't find good, and you're giving that power to corporations. Every time that happens, that's all that someone's really doing. The only thing you're really accomplishing with this sort of language is that you're going, corporations, here, have some more power. And I want to round this out with a quote from Pat Brannigan. Joe Rogan empathizes with his guests. That's how you get people to talk. The guest he had on was a bit nuts, in my opinion, especially with his opinions. So he mirrors people. That's his role. That's what he does. I think he should have more people that he can mirror the other way. But again, he's in Texas now, so that's kind of on him to figure it out.
One last final note, and that is this. Look, Joe Rogan has opinions, and guess what? The reason why we're defending Joe Rogan is because of this immediate cancel culture that we're seeing come after him. Do I agree with his opinions some of the time? Hell no. Because I got my own thoughts. What I am against is this ridiculous, super fast rush to censoring and canceling people, because guess what? It will happen to a large sway of independent media networks and other channels on YouTube. I guess it's going to be happening on Twitch or something like that very soon, and I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see that happen to anybody, because let's face it, it was very close for us here at Hard Lens Media. Not once, but twice we went through that nightmare. When you call for censorship, be prepared to see those that you like to speak also be censored. And this is the dangerous pathway, especially when you talk about being absolute for freedom of speech, because you will always get the pushback. Well, that means you want this group to speak. That means you want that group to speak. When you're for free speech, you got to stand for it 100%. Because I personally believe, and this is just my opinion, and I'm pretty sure Daniel has his own opinion too on this, but I believe that the world is filled with good people. Do you want to know how you beat hate speech, ignorant speech? Good people. Intelligent speech will always outmaneuver and outflank hate speech, ignorant speech. But the thing is, the answer is not censorship or deplatforming. What you will be doing is creating echo chambers, and you'll be making the discourse in this country far, far worse. How do you think we got Trump in the first place?